Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Nina, Executive Director and founder of TOVA Community Health. Welcome back for another episode of TOVA Tuesday, where we share information with you from some of the most renowned authors, practitioners, and people in our community that are passionate about making sure that our communities are healthy, live in vibrant lives, and have the best quality of life possible. I am so honored today to have another international renowned entrepreneur and holistic medicine doctor, Dr. Charlie Ware, on our show today. Remember, you can find out more information about TOVA Tuesday on our website at www.tovacommunityhealth.org. You can go to TOVA Health TV and you can look through all the episodes of TOVA Tuesday. If you like this episode, please make sure that you donate on our Cash App $TOVA Health or to our PayPal account, which is contact@tovacommunityhealth.org. So with further ado, I want to welcome Dr. Charlie Ware to TOVA Tuesday. How are you today, Dr. Ware?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is lovely.
So Dr. Ware, we have had an opportunity to talk. I reached out to you, and I'm always interested in finding all kinds of alternative treatment options to help my clients who live with sickle cell. And I also see other clients that just have general health needs. And one of the things that I focus on as a holistic medicine practitioner is just making sure that outside of this clinic space, that I give them tips and tools and resources and help them empower them to change their lifestyle. To make sure that they live a healthy lifestyle is most important to aging healthy and gracefully.
Yes.
But Dr. Charlie Ware, you are just doing so many great things in the community, and I want our audience to really get to know you and to also support your endeavors as well. So Dr. Ware, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Wow. It's always funny when someone asks me that question. Because
you know, someone assuming, and I'm like, it kind of throws you off a little bit.
Well, I am your CEO and founder of Healing Blends Global. I am a naturalistic functional medicine doctor as well. I created Evenflo for sickle cell disease, and my focus really is on chronic disease in the African American community. Because again, if we look at just the stats, our ratio of heart disease, diabetes, all these metabolic diseases are just increasingly high. Sickle cell disease is the most prevalent red blood cell disease, genetic disease in the world, and we get the least funding. So what I'm trying to do is essentially put myself in a position to be able to help as many areas like I possibly can. That's one reason why I've studied, in so many different areas, whether it be biomedical sciences, whether it be even philosophy, the Bible, but also with genetics and also epigenetics. And why did I do that? Is because when I was going to school, whether it be medical school or alternative school, I was just finding disparities like how does this stuff really work? How do these natural herbs and substances really get into the body? So after CRISPR actually, decoded the human genome, they were at a loss. So they started to decode the plant life. And we're finding some beautiful things in plant life that how they really are affecting the body, which led me into also writing, an author of the book, The Code of Longevity, which is like really looking at bioactive nutrients, how we're able to, elongate our life and live a much healthy life as well.
Thank you for that. And I'm sure that it's a passion of yours because you, like myself, a family are farmers. And
yes.
My grandma's family lives in Thomasville, Georgia. So it's out very far out in the country. And sometimes the doctor or the midwife can't get to you. You can't get to the hospital right away. So you're going to have to treat some of these ailments from the land as well. So I just want to share with our audience a little bit about you, and we'll talk more. So Dr. Ware was born and raised in Cape Charles, Virginia on a farm.
Yes.
Dr. Ware is a natural medicine doctor, international lecturer, author, research, and renowned developer of products and wellness programs for several Fortune 500 companies. He is the founder of Healing Blends Global, which created the product Evenflo. And Evenflo is 93% effective at preventing sickle cell crisis. And he also published his study in a very respected nursing journal called Nursing and Health Science Research Journal in 2020. So you can go there and get that study as well. And that Dr. Ware is a researcher as well and has the backing to prove it. He's the author of Codes of Longevity, He's the former senior VP of BioLogics, former director to one of the leading health and beauty companies in the United States of America, and he specializes in functional and restorative medicine, epigenetics, and genomics. So, Dr. Ware, for all those who don't know, I mean, people think, okay, you have to go to a traditional medical school to be trained to take care of clients, to heal ailments. But your educational background is a little different and you took a different path. Can you talk about your educational background?
Yes, definitely. And I think you sort of alluded to it. We grew up on farms, and I mean, I think the closest hospital for us was maybe 50 miles away.
Mm,
So, and I mean, it still was a small hospital. So if anything happened, it was a matter of doing it on the farm. My grandfather was Native American. His entire family was Native American from tribal Pequot.
mm,
So I'm near and dear with that. So living off the land, working with the land, was something that was always passionate for me. I love medicine. I knew at a young age I was a healer in different ways. So, and something that I wanted to explore, but I never envisioned myself being in the white coat and walking down the hospital aisle. I knew it was a little bit different.
mm,
And my life sort of changed when I was getting ready to go to medical school, George Washington University Medical School. And one of my dear friends, who was a physician, I was having severe headaches. And she essentially said, well, you won't take anything that I'll give you, because I was already not taking medicine, even though I do have sickle beta thalassemia myself as well. Um, I, I I was having pain crisis, whatever, but I was having these debilitating headaches. I couldn't even drive. So I go to her. She's like, "Well, I'm gonna give you acupuncture." I was like, "No, you're not. That's not happening." And that's when my world would open up. I'm like, "Wait a minute, acupuncture." So I researched it. She gave it to me, and I passed that. I mean, it was like the best I ever had. Woke up, no headaches. It was like, this is weird. This is really weird. And I researched. I did grand rounds with her for an entire year. I stayed out of school for an entire year and just did grand rounds with her, because she was, a Western trained physician, but she also loved doing acupuncture. So she would do it, twice a week on her patients. So it's like patients. So she would do the Western part 3 days a week and do this part twice a week. And I needed said, after maybe 6 months, I said, you know what? I'm not going to medical school. I'm doing this. And she was like, no, your parents will kill me if you don't go to medical school. But also she's like, listen, this is hard. People aren't into this. And I was in Maryland. I was in Baltimore at that time. And, Baltimore, the closed minded that can be in African American communities at sometimes. But she
yes,
didn't
it's
want
true.
that. Right. And again, I'm not throwing darts. What I'm saying is anything new can be sort of like frightening. And the best case scenario I can say was, at that time, he's saying that she had this, at that time, maybe 60 or 70-year-old African American male come in. And, he was so, well, I was forced to come here. Da, 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 da. The guy went in, came back out, and he was like, okay, I'll see you next week. It was like his life was changed. His pain was gone. So I was just fascinated. So that's when I went the natural route. I knew that there was a place that I can go to train in herbs and acupuncture and in just even the meditation, things of that sort. So that's when things changed for me then. So I went to California, went to Pacific, then came to Florida to study in healing as well. But then, like for me, I'm still Western minded. I'm still a researcher. I'm like, okay, it's great, but I need to know how that works. So that's when I start to do my own research, or I start to do other research projects into biomedical aspects of herbs, or learning what is the acupuncture point really doing, like what chemicals are being released, what enzymes are released, what nerve roots being affected, so all that stuff was, so fascinating to me. So even like learning that, a point on my leg is really, I put a needle there. If I hit it right, it's going to inject bile for my gallbladder and help my gallbladder function more efficiently. But I'm affecting on the leg. I was waiting, this is crazy. And this is all the research that we start to find. So then when it came to herbs, I was like, okay, this is a different level. So I had to really understand really why was the herbs doing this. Okay, I take this herb because it's cold or whatever, so I have a fever, so to break my cold. So what's really happening? So when I started to learn that some of the herbs I deal on a daily basis have been shown to actually increase your body temperature, so that your body's going to actually run a fever to get rid of the actual virus inside our body and help kill it. This is crazy that we even see this research. So that was the reason why I took my path, and why I sort of went and meandered around, still trying to prove that we have validity, and prove the fact that, hey, look, one reason why we use ginger so often for stomach stuff and to fight colds and flus and things of that
Yeah.
sort is because of the fact that it has a lot of TNF factors inside of it. Tumor-necrotic factors inside of it. It actually it communicates directly with the thymus, and it helps the thymus locate the actual diseases inside our body. So, and then it also do phenomenal things with our microvilli in our gut as well. So, it's just knowing that, like I said, I'm a nerd, so I just love learning just the simple things on how we function and why it's important for us to have these things in our body on a daily basis. So that's just why I do what I do.
I want to say too, we're both, my grandmother is a Black Seminole Indian as well. And so, a lot of the traditions, the herbal treatments of ailments was passed down to me. And it never really resonated until I started practicing more like, hey, we have to try some other things here because, some of these medicines are just causing you more harm. But the other thing is that I found that even growing up, and my grandmother, whether it was like if I had a cold, she would give me a tea with a concoction in it. On the weekend, she loved to go to the vitamin and herbal store.
Yeah.
And every time we went in there, it was completely empty. I mean, and it was I never saw a lot of African Americans going into the vitamin store. But it was like, okay, go into the grocery store. Now we got to stop over to the vitamin store, And we got to get our teas and we got to get our vitamin C and we got to get our B complex. Can you talk about that now? You decided, and I'm sure your family said, what the heck are you doing?
Yes.
You received your doctorate of acupuncture, herbology, and natural medicine from Atlantic Institute of Oriental Medicine. So you did this sort of like a 360 and said, hey, I want to go a different route. But can you talk about that and why, for those in the African American community, it seems like it's very difficult for them to open their mind up for other possibilities of improving their overall health and wellness?
Exactly. For me, it was empowerment. I'll be honest with you, because, and again, not down in Western medicine, but I say it like this, I never forget the first time I actually had a pain crisis that I can recall. And at the time, I was only diagnosed with sickle cell trait. So I was always at the hospital or at the doctor trying to figure out, well, why is he in pain? He's always talking about his sides are hurting, his arm is hurting, but he only has sickle cell trait. He should have nothing at all. And the doctor gave me an analgesic. I don't know which one it was, but I'm quite sure it was probably Tylenol 3 or something like that. And I took this thing and I saw my mom swimming around the room. I'm reaching out for her, like, Mommy. And it was like, I'm like, well, I never want to experience that again. So I used to hide my pain. So for me, it was like I lost trust in the physician because either I was going to go to the doctor and I was get more pills or get more blood drawn, but no one ever had an answer for me, right? I recall even during that time I was having again these debilitating headaches, and I went from not using glasses to having like these thick Coke bottle glasses, and I'm like, I can't see out these things. Like, oh, this is gonna make your headaches go away. And long story short, I was forced there as well. I have like I don't wear glasses at all. My neck forward almost 50, and I didn't need glasses. It was like all forced. It was like all these things coming in at the same time. So for me, it was like the same thing with most African Americans. It's hard for us to trust the doctors. So a lot of us don't go to the doctors. So if we go to the doctors, we feel as if we have to be pigeonholed there, and there's no other alternatives. And either do what I say, or just walk out my office. So for me, it was like I had to empower myself first, so I can empower other individuals to say, hey, look, yes, grandma was right when she said, hey, baby, drink this tea or take this cod liver or things like that. So go outside, you get a little cold, go outside in the sun for a little bit, baby, to start sweating a little bit, it's like all those simple things that we poo-poo now because, hey, I guess take something to break my fever or whatever, are things that we're now seeing in research. Wait a minute, especially with this new virus that came out, you don't break the fever so quickly. You let the person run the fever to actually have the body fight.
Fever is the way of the immune system fighting off a virus or a germ. You have to let your body work and heal itself too. Not be scared.
Yes.
You get a temperature. That's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. But oh no, I have 102 fever. Let it run for another few hours. Don't take anything yet. All of a sudden you see yourself breaking to the sheet sweat. So even empowering ourselves just to have that conversation right there was something that I was like, whoa. And even when people were like, oh, well, Dr. Ware does all these things, I'm doing this stuff, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm empowering people to make sure that they make the best decisions for themselves from a health perspective. And then when we look at nutrient status, nutrient status for me basically means that you're eating the best food that you can afford, not the easiest food, the best food that you can afford. So that's one reason why I speak in terms of having to improve my conversation around food and in mental health as well. That's another part of it that we don't even step into. So I'm like, have you written yourself a gratitude letter lately? What do you mean? Are you thankful for yourself for even waking up today? Simple things like that. So it's not about the pills and things of that sort. It's a whole body health that I really have to get into myself, and I have to also sort of translate that to my patients and the consumers and things of that sort. So for me, when I start to revisit the things that my grandfather and my grandmother taught me, and my mom and also taught me, and also my father as well. And I couldn't leave him out. It was like, wait a minute, these things really still do work. They have validity. But we always want the best next thing. Oh well, okay, I don't have to sit around with my favorite break. I can just take this syrup and it's already gone. So the conversation I always have to have with people is keep it simple. I say, kids, keep it super simple. Keep your health super simple. Control what you can control, and that's all you need to do. Control what you can control. That's your diet. That's your sleep. Those are the things that you don't have to even pay any money for. And also the emotional response or stress responses to everyday life. Are you really upset over the fact this person cut you off? Or are you really angry and now that anger is coming out? Or is that anger really depression and now it's coming out in a different form? And have you spoken to anyone about that? So for me, I look at it from so many different angles. It's not just one angle as a reason why I look at the reason why we as a community are not really looking at ourselves being worthy. And it's part of our upbringing as far as like, okay, well, you can only, as farmland things, you can only have this land over here. This is your land. And the coolest thing about my great aunt, she bought over, I think, 500 or 1,000 acres of land where I'm from, and we sold most of it off. But I look at the land that we sold off, I'm like, wow, we should own all of this. And now it's desirable land now because everyone wants to, beachfront property. Who wants to have a beach? That's sort of you can't grow anything with that. Now we own that, type thing. So for me, it's like, it's not being told what you can do, is what
and the potential of that land, what it could do, what it could be. I mean, it may be barren right now, but you're not seeing, what it could be 10, 20, 100 years from now.
Exactly. So it's the same thing for health. For me, I'm like, you're not understanding that you getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day is not a luxury, is a necessity for you. I mean, I have way too many patients that, I'm like, why do you stay up so late at night? I'm like, because you're an adult, so you assume that you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can. So let's make better choices. Let's not sit up and binge watch or be on social media and do all these things that really it's not adding any value to your life. Right. So what's going to add value to your life? And the things that we don't realize is for every week and month that we are not sleeping 8 hours of sleep, getting rest, we're taking years off of our lives. If we look at the average, death rate, age right now in America, it's actually been dropping over the last 10 to 15 years, guys. It's been dropping, not adding on, it's been dropping. And the funny thing is, in these third world poor countries, that's what's happening. They're increasing. Why is that happening? It's because they're focusing on what they can control. All I can do is sleep. I'm gonna eat what I'm able to eat, and I keep praising God and have my community.
Right.
So
that's it.
That's it.
That's the TOVA community. That's my community.
Exactly. So yeah. It's for me. I think a lot of times people ask me questions, and it's gonna be very, very scientific. I was like, trust me, I've done enough work with science and genes and everything else to sort of say this is what we found to be the most important things.
Yeah, it's simple. It really is. Yes. So, Dr. Ware, we talked about, and you're very adamant, to try to improve the quality of life of those in the sickle cell community, me as well. Can you talk about growing up with sickle cell? I mean, and probably doctors thought you had the trait or was kind of blew you off because they probably didn't do an electrophoresis or an alpha beta gene analysis. So they're questioning why your CBC, your hemoglobin was this, but then you have these complaints and your mother's trying to, do her best to keep you well. And I'm sure she was very frustrated as well. But can you talk about that? Because as an African-American male, I'm sure you've had some challenges within the healthcare system as well. Talk about that.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I took myself out of the healthcare system to empower myself was because of those reasons. Like I said, I alluded to before, having the experience with a really, really strong analgesic, I can almost say I've never taken another analgesic since then. I had several surgery, and I was like, nope, I'm good. Just give me in, and I'll figure it out. But the challenge really was in my teens when I was very active playing sports. Actually, I played some AAA baseball as a pitcher in Maryland as well. But in high school, I was told I couldn't play football. I couldn't play baseball anymore because they found out, you were getting a trait. I'm like, wait a minute. You guys know this. It's been on my medical records all my life. Then all of a sudden, I was in the 10th, 11th grade. They said, you can't play anymore. I'm like, you're wrong. I'm going to play. So I had to basically go to the doctor, write out everything. I said, listen, this is the research. And again, this is before Google, guys. So I had to go through, and I'm also from a small town, Virginia. I had the local librarian order me so many different journals. And I'm like reading these journals and highlighting stuff. Like this is what they say I can do. I hydrate, I rest in between, in all these things. And I was able to continue to play sports. But also, the other thing is not being taken seriously. So when even now when a patient comes in and they say, well, no one's taking me serious about my, whether it be my anxiety, whether it be my pain or whatever, I'm like, I understand what you mean. And they're like, no, you don't. No, you don't. I'm like, truly I do, because no one took me seriously for years. In fact, I recall, and I'm laughing at it, I recall when I first got on social media and put my story out there. I mean, people were like, oh, you only have the trait, you only have this, you only have, I'm like wow. So I'm different. And I'm like, okay, great. So it's a lot of that goes on where it's like, if you're not a certain type, you're not important.
Or if you don't fit into that box, like even people with the
Exactly.
trait, now why can't they have crisis? I mean, they may
Exactly.
have a population of people with the trait that have symptoms, they may get mini crisis or, if they get
Exactly.
dehydrated, get into trouble. So why would we
Yeah.
treat them any different than we would treat someone with sickle cell?
But
Is a question I have.
exactly. But
So you blow them off because the
and
studies show one thing?
exactly. It sort of shows that you should not have a problem. You may be a little you need to watch your activity level, but there's no concrete studies. But I've had at least 2 to 3 dozen women almost bleed out and die and actually cell trait from giving birth or monthly cycles and things of that sort. So for me, when I was wait a minute, let me because again I never got re-diagnosed since a baby. So I was what I didn't know anything about thalassemia. But I'm thinking about a lot of my symptoms sound thalassemia more so than I'm like, okay. So when I got retested, I never forget. I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold up. So I have sickle cell trait about thalassemia, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, my father has this, my mother has this, and it later came out, yes, this is what both of them actually had. But again, even when I tell people that, they're like, oh, okay, well, you're in the club now. I'm like, no, I'm not in the club. I'm like, no, because the other flip side of that is the fact that I'm always telling people I'm not my condition. I'm still me. I may have something that doesn't have me. So like myself and a lot of friends that I have that are, athletes or living life, the best that we can. And we're not in a hospital, things of that sort. They're like, well, you're different. I'm like, no, we're not different. We choose to live a life a little bit differently and not just listen to what, the healthcare professionals say that this is the life you're going to have. Because the stories I actually hear about, especially with sickle cell disease, the conversations that the parents have, oh, your child's a month old, he's been diagnosed with sickle cell thalassemia, sickle cell, and this is a life that they're going to live. They list out all the negative things, and the parents are like, I don't know what to do. So, and then I get a phone call, I get an email. I'm like, no, that's not their child's fate. Don't worry about that, baby. We're good. And I'm thrilled that every year I have this huge class of high schoolers going to college, and they're all sickle cell patients. And it's like this is the life that you can live. This is your life. You can fly, you can swim, you can skydive if you want. It's certain precautions we take, but it's around that, in my opinion, that victim mindset that we have that we slip into very, very easily because we also love to be complete as a culture. So I have this right here, and I can't do something that I have this right here. I'm like, stop using it as a badge of honor. Use your health and everything else that you're doing as a badge of honor and not your diagnosis. Your diagnosis is not who you are. So
Right, Dr. Ware. And I also just wanted to share with you too is that part of why I Ware red so much is red means love, but it's also the color of blood, oxygenated blood. But it was such a stigma in the sickle cell community, and I've been doing this for 20 years. When I would tell people, even in my family, oh, what is your expertise? And I said sickle cell. They're like, oh, why are you doing that? There's no money and resources in that. And I was like,
yes.
and so what does that mean? I think that's an opportunity,
Right.
and even when I go out and I talk to my colleagues or even patients or people in the community, and I say, they're like, well, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I take care of people with sickle cell. And they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, so what's the problem here, but one of the things that we both feel passionate about, as you said, it's, health is your wealth. Your environment, living a healthy lifestyle with sickle cell. You can live well with sickle cell. So I wanted to share with you some of my TOVA tips, but I wanted you to chime in about Evenflo and some of your supplemental products as well. And I'm an authorized distributor of the Evenflo and those with sickle cell. And I've actually seen some reductions in hospitalization as well. And people going out and living their lives. And that's what we want. That's what I want for my clients as well. But so Dr. Nina's TOVA tips are you have to invest in your health.
Yes.
That means
Yes.
putting aside budget on the side to say, I need to buy my supplements, I need to invest in a gym membership, or if you don't want to invest in a gym membership, find a local park where you can go walk and get some sunlight and some vitamin D. That means going to the farmer's market if you can't go to the grocery store and buy fresh fruits and vegetables. Preventative health maintenance is key. A lot of chronic conditions can be managed. You have to be proactive. Exercise regularly with a warm-up stretch is very important. It's also important to stay well hydrated with clear liquids, especially water, but Dr. Ware, have you weigh in on that? And check up on your gut health.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of these, Dr. Ware, please?
Yes. Investing in your health is something that I see that we don't appreciate our health, right? As the old saying goes, you appreciate something until you actually lose it. And I've been vegan and vegetarian for over 30-some years now. And
Fantastic.
I tell all my patients that the reason why I became vegan and vegetarian was because I resonated well with that. Even in college, I mean, broke college kids, trust me, I put myself through college, I worked and paid my own tuition. So even with that, I was eating what I could, but the best I could. And actually, I did a segment with I think the Synergy in that age, I think 6 years ago, showing how individuals that have EBT cards or on food stamps, how we can pair the proper foods with that budget as well. So investing in your health essentially means, again, eating the best food that you can. And sometimes, yes, you don't want to eat something that is a splurge or whatever, but if you're only focusing on things that are going to bring you the best health, it's going to be less expensive, trust me. Also, investing in testing, and I say invest because it is more so back to preventative health, going to get tested at least once or twice a year just to see your levels. It's so important just to see your levels, because sometimes if you're able to catch something before it gets too bad or too out of whack, we can correct it so easy, and it's usually going to be through the diet. So also investing in your health is also, yes, take a daily multivitamin or take a herbal supplement, or how about this? Start your day off with a tea, a chamomile tea, a green tea, a mint tea, something that's going to bring bioactive nutrients inside of your body to help decrease inflammation inside your body as well. So that's a big thing right there. Preventive health maintenance is key because of the fact that when we look at 90% of these diseases that we're treating, when we catch it early enough, we can say, hey, tweak your diet or tweak your sleep, work out a little bit more, and most of these things are going to be able to go away. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, what else? Even a lot of cancers are really just due to stress. Hypertension, excuse me, hypertension. Most of the things are due to stress, overeating, and lack of sleep, right? So if we correct those few things by saying, oh, your test showed this, you have a level of inflammation that's right here. And most physicians are going to say, oh, it's not a big deal. For me, it's going to be a big deal. Any little tick up is going to be a big deal, right? Why fibroid is so prevalent in the African-American community, because of the fact that we already know that a lot of the lotions, perfumes, and things of that sort that women use are not good for our body. They're hormone disruptors. So I tell individuals, like, listen, get back to using coconut oil, put some sort of essential oil in there that you think is smell good, and use that, use natural soaps. So all those things are really, really key. Working out is not about going to, and I'm sorry, Dr. Nina, it's not about going to.
That's right. Correct.
It's not about going to a gym. I personally, I work out and I do not go to a gym. I hate gyms, in fact. And why do I say that? Because it's the whole prep. Oh, I have to keep my clothes together. I have to go and drive. I have to go and have to drive back. I got to shower. So that's usually the biggest excuse. I say working out is if you live on a 3-story building, walk up the stairs 2 or 3 times. That's great cardio. You're working your legs, your glutes. If you start pumping your hands above your head, you're working your shoulders and also working your chest out. Do the old school, high school calisthenics, push-ups, sit-ups, running in place, stretching, and things of that sort. I always stretch before I go to bed. When I first wake up, and 3 or 4 times during the day, I'm stretching, especially for a sickle cell patient. If you're doing stretching and doing deep stretches inside the hips, inside the shoulders, the AVN is not going to happen because you're getting the micronutrients to those capillaries that control those joints. So it's simple things like that you can actually start to do. If you say, oh, it's too painful, you modify it to a point where your body's going to start accepting the stretch and also accepting the working out. I'm not saying going jogging. Jogging is bad for the neck and also the knees and also the lower back. You start to walk until you are strong enough to build your joints up where you can start to do a light jog on the grass versus doing on the pavement as well. So, that's a big thing right there. Hydration for me is everything. And when we're talking about hydration, we're not talking about just plain water. You got to have these trace nutrients because, again, we think water is H2O. The original water that I drank out our well, we tested it. You have sodium, barium, magnesium, manganese. You have all these things, trace minerals inside of natural water, water from a spring or water from a well. You want to make sure that you're drinking water and adding trace nutrients to it, because that's one reason why you're also drinking water is to get the trace minerals inside of the body, right? That's one reason why I tell people to, hey, look, if you start your day off with a tea, you're getting some of those trace nutrients inside your body. That's going to fight inflammation, fight infections, and also fight any sort of deficiencies inside the body as well. And then lastly, and my passion now is about gut health. We have to realize that our food is broken down in our gut. Our probiotics is really made in our gut. Our B vitamins is made in our gut. Most of our immunity is in our gut. Our hormones is really in our gut, right? Our second brain is our gut. So when our gut isn't functioning efficiently, you have to make sure that you're doing things that's going to improve it. First and foremost, when you eat something, how do you feel? Are you bloated? Are you gassy? Do you start producing a little bit of mucus? You eat something and you say, "Oh, I feel a little mucus in my throat right now." That's all an indication that you create inflammation. That you have an allergy to it. And was it to the food? Was it to the oil? Was it to the amount of sugar inside it? Or even the wrong type of sodium that was actually used or salt that was used? So you got to start checking all those things. So first and foremost, I tell everyone, one way to improve your gut health is, of course, stay hydrated. That's one. Two, make sure that you defecate once or twice a day, right? How are you going to do that? You make time for it. I'm so stressed out.
Explain that, Dr. Ware.
So essentially, I have a lot of patients that they're so busy that they don't even have time to sit down on the toilet. I'm so stressed out that I can't take the time to sit down on the toilet and just relieve myself, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, would you keep driving around your beautiful car, with the same oil you've had in there for the last 3 years? No, you won't. But you do that to your body, though, right? I used to always use this analogy. I would ask the patient, what sort of car you drive? And I used to work in a very affluent area, so I knew it was going to be some sort of luxury car. I'm like, wow, you're driving an Audi, a brand new Audi. Great. What sort of gas you put in there? Well, it takes the plus, I'm like, great. I said, so what do you have for breakfast this morning? Oh, I had a bagel and some coffee. I'm like, so you drive this beautiful, expensive car. You look good in the car, right? But you put this food that's not giving you good fuel. You're not putting fuel inside your body, but you're putting, like now, gas $4. You put this $4 per gallon gas in your car, but you won't do the same to your body. You want to take the time to do a juice, to do a tea, to have some sort of essential fatty acid early in the morning to allow your body to really absorb as many nutrients and also detox. You got to remember that we mostly detox ourselves between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. in the morning. They say 7 to 11, but it's really earlier that your body really detoxes itself. Detoxification means that that's when you urinate, that's when you're most likely to defecate as well. And when you're defecating, a lot of mucus, a lot of inflammation because your body's producing all this stuff at night to package it all up to push it out of your body as well. Something that, I'm gonna jump back on sleep real quick and get back to it. You gotta realize that, at night we're producing like different, we also detox our brain and we produce these beta amyloids on our brain. And the body takes anywhere from 7 to 9 hours to completely detox the beta amyloids off our brain. One reason why in our community we largely are plagued with dementias and things of that sort is because we're not sleeping well enough. Right? I
want to say that means turn off the cell phone.
Yes. Yes, turn off that cell phone. That's because you're laying in bed. Does that mean you're sleeping? Well, I went to bed at 10 o'clock. No, you went to bed really at 2 o'clock because you're still on your cell phone. Come on.
Quality sleep.
Exactly. So the same thing with the gut as well. If you're not sleeping efficiently, the gut is not going to allow you to defecate and detoxify itself because it wants to rest, right? It still has to woke itself up to be able to actually get rid of everything. So when you're defecating, you're getting rid of not just the toxins, but also the infections and mucus and all those things that your body wants to get rid of as it's detoxifying itself. So what you want to do is, and then first thing in the morning, you want to drink something warm, a warm beverage to help the body actually warm up the enzymes that's supposed to really detoxify the stomach and detoxify the gut and be ready to accept different nutrients as well. And then eating when you're only hungry. We get in the habit of saying
that's hard.
It is hard, but trust me, when we eat only when we're hungry, meaning you wake up in the morning, and if you wake up hungry, okay, great. I say always drink something, to see if you're thirsty or if you're actually hungry. Most of the time you're really thirsty because again, your body detoxifies itself and your brain is 75-80% water as well. So I'm like, you gotta realize that you gotta rehydrate your brain as well. So, but all that leads into the gut. If the gut's not well hydrated, the gut is going to sort of seize up. You won't be able to float the boat. So you got to float the boat. So part of the gut health is also that. And then we look at probiotics. Are we going to take probiotics, or are we going to start eating leafy greens that are the soluble fibers that's going to help you produce those probiotics naturally? And that's a huge part of it. You got to realize, guys, that again, go back to CRISPR, we were able to now see that there's over 1,000 gut microbiome bacteria that we need, or we're learning more and more about what it's really doing. 25 years ago, we had about 2/3 more than what we have right now. We have 1/3 of the gut microbiome that we used to have. So we need to continue to eat leafy greens. The more processed food that we're having, the more we're degrading that. And moms and also dads, we're passing this microbiome from generation to generation. So your kids are inheriting a microbiome that's not sufficient for them. So the more that we eat the leafy greens, the more that we are eating the fruits, the more that we're not having the processed foods, the more that we're taking out the vegetable oils, the canola oils, the soybean oils, the corn oils, all those things, and having the olive oil, the coconut oil, the palm oil, our microbiome is starting to rebuild itself. It can rebuild itself. That's one reason why a lot of herbs that we use helps to rebuild the microbiome. Half fermented foods. I mean, I love olives, love pickles, love things like that. That's going to actually help to bring fermentation to the actual gut itself. So that's my
you are on a roll, and I was writing my notes down because I feel like I'm back in class, which is fantastic. We can always learn, and you're just such a wealth of knowledge. And I just want to thank you for being on this show. We can go on, and I think I'm just going to have you back for another episode. But I also wanted to talk to you about your book, Codes of Longevity, about your practice. And I just wanted to let the community know, hey, I'm from Delaware. I'm just this little local person, really trying to help the sickle cell community, small practice, independent provider. And there's many struggles with that. With Dr. Ware and I have had those discussions. But you have treated CEOs, entertainers, NFL players, NBA players, baseball players, winning musicians, and Oscar winners. And you also have developed innovative concepts like Epigenetics and Genomics, which we can talk about a little bit. But you're just a wealth of knowledge, and you're providing insight to our community to help them live a healthier life. And what's so dear to my heart is you're so passionate about serving the sickle cell community as well. So talk a little bit about your book and also about some of the services you offer with your company.
Yes. The book, oh my gosh, that book was, it was a labor of love because I introduced all of that crazy knowledge we're talking about into one chapter. So essentially my chapter in the book, or the book in general, what it is we're a bunch of experts that are looking at the best way to live our lives as long as we possibly can, right? And when we look at longevity, we look at it from a standpoint of where you are and what's your overall goal. We know some people have been able to live to be 120 years old. And in some of these blue countries, that's the average 105, 110 is the average age that some of these people are living in, and they're in poor countries, right? So the book we were trying to capture the essence of what longevity really means to you, because we go through a lot of the practices, whether it be meditation, whether it be, doing testing, wearing wearable devices to help you track that, or even from a financial standpoint, how do you set yourself up to say, hey, look, if I want to live this long, how can I live this long and have enough money to live that long as well? So it was a whole gamut, but my portion of it was actually looking at bioactive nutrients over the course of time, from when we can go back and do biological anthropology and see what was actually happening and where people were living. And essentially what I found was most of the individuals that lived around like the sea or rivers, whatever, and ate plant life from the sea or fish, their brains grew twice as high as the ones that live on like just meat and we call prairie life. So we found that the bioactive nutrients were, the more diverse the bioactive nutrients were and the more diverse their gut was, they were able to actually grow and be more intelligent and get taller, stronger, faster than their counterparts. And then from where we are even now, looking at bioactive nutrients, in herbs, we found that 90% of what we needed were found in herbs. So that was one reason that sort of validated exactly what we were discussing earlier, but also validated like my life's work thus far. Was like, why are you using herbs? You just use this over here. I know, herbs and the whole herbs is important for me to understand how they put up each other, the synergy of it. And what we learned was, and I love the term, that herbs have a genetic dominance. What does that really mean? It means that our body recognizes herbs as its first line of medicine. I was like, whoa, it blew me away. I was like, wow, so our body recognizes that it can use this as a sage. They're like 125 different types of sage, let's use sage in general, to actually heal the body. Like, yeah, because those the saponins and the flavonoids, things that are inside there are already inside of your DNA, because it takes about 128,000 people to make you. Right, so someone about 120,000 person ate sage, and they kept passing it on to say, "Hey, look, you have a headache, eat some sage." And long story short, you're eating sage now, and your body says, "Oh, I can stop the headache because it's not your genetic code." Right? Medicine have been around, some around for 18 months, some maybe 100 years, but we don't have the genetic dominance with that. Our body doesn't work that way, but it works well with the herb. So that was one reason why the book came about. And in my practice, I see patients all over the world. I do have some patients that fly into me, but I do a lot of telehealth. I've been doing telehealth for the last 12 years. Before the Zoom became popular, I was using Skype. So I have patients in Africa, South America, Canada, all over Europe, Asia. I used to have patients all over the country as well. And the telehealth for me became important because I kept realizing was a lot of times people don't need for me to, sit down in front of them face to face and have that same conversation. I need to see exactly what you're eating, what your lifestyle is, and then what is your ultimate goal, right? So then when I start to pair all that together with all the crazy knowledge I have, I can put you on a path that's going to be healthy. And then if we need to do some testing, I can do some regular testing, but also what I do is I can go deeper and do the genetic testing. I do the cytokine testing. I do the different allergy tests. I do gut tests. I do stool sample tests. I can do heart map testing, brain. I can do all that. Do saliva, stool, or also blood as well. And I send people these kits, and I send it to a local draw kit or some of the things you can do at home, send it off, and within like 2 or 3 weeks, I get reports back. We have a meeting, and I'll go through everything and say, hey, look, this is what we're looking at. This is your goal. How we're going to get to your goal. So I keep it very, very simple. And I think a lot of my sickle cell patients, go back to that, they're like, is that simple? I'm like, it really is just that simple. Let's get the information out your gut. Let's get the information out your brain. Because a lot of them have brain inflammation that they don't know about. That's why I said that some of these Dopplers are a little bit higher. I'm gonna have information in your brain, get information inside your gut, and then once you're able to absorb more nutrients, because my motto is also it's not what you're taking, it's what you're absorbing, right? So once we're able to absorb more nutrients, we'll start to reduce down all your vitamins and everything else because you get everything you need from your food. Right. And that's the end all goal is put you in a diet, or not even that, put you in a regimen that this works for you. That's why for me, being a vegan vegetarian works great for me. Like I said, I'm in my late 40s, I can still outrun my teenage boys.
I'm just amazed of all you do. I mean, I'm so taken aback. It's just so honored to have you on TOVA Tuesday, and then just the great work you've done. And just so sorry I haven't met you years ago, and just kind of like doing my own research, sort of just trying to find ways to help our community, especially our sickle cell community. And, it's just a blessing that I've been able to meet you and been able to help, my clients as well. But just for the sake of time, Dr. Ware, I wanted to know how people can connect with you. I also want the community to know that I also am an authorized distributor of Healing Blends products and Evenflo as well. I'm unapologetic about that as well. How can they get in touch with you, Dr. Ware?
Through my website is drcharlieware.com. I'm not that arrogant, but I didn't want to think of another name for a clinic. drcharlieware.com. That's my name of my website and also my practice. But also you can call us at 954-458-5999. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Also check out our website, healingblends.com. That's healingblends.com. You can also email us through there at support@healingblends.com as well. And I'm usually on Instagram Live and Facebook Live once or twice a week, just giving out different tips and new research that I found out. It's a lot of microbiome stuff, about hypoxia. I don't want to get into that conversation right now.
Yeah, but we'll have a conversation about that afterward.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely check me out. And we also have newsletters on our website that, again, I think I've written a couple hundred blogs and newsletters and things of that sort. So I try to give as much information as I can. My marketing people hate me for it. They're like, you just give away so much. I'm like, I don't care.
That's me. Education is important.
Exactly. And in fact, actually, we just created a 0 to 12 month sickle cell ebook. And the reason why we created that was what to expect in the first 12 months of a sickle cell baby's life. And again, it's not everything, but it's many things as I thought. And it's not about using just Healing Blends products. It's about using simple methods, like we said before, letting the fever run just a little bit longer. If they have, a hand and foot syndrome, what to do, if they start to tease, it's different products that, can also use along with that. Different supplements that we think they should be on. So I think it's only like maybe, 20 pages, but it's going to give away free. They're still trying to make it look pretty, as I said, and we'll release that as well. So, yeah.
Well, Dr. Ware, I wish you so much success. I'm just so honored that you're here and you've shared and imparted so much knowledge that I really hope that you continue the work that you're doing. I want to thank you for coming on to a Tuesday today. We have here Dr. Charlie Ware, an expert, an entrepreneur, a healthcare practitioner who is actually healing the community, improving their quality of life. I am Dr. Nina from TOVA Health TV. Welcome to TOVA Tuesday. Thank you so much, Dr. Ware, for joining us. If you like this episode, please make sure that you donate to our Cash App at $ TOVA Health or at our PayPal site at contact@tovacommunityhealth.org. To learn more about TOVA Community Health, please visit our website at www.tovacommunityhealth.org. You can like us on Facebook and Instagram. We're always putting out health information as well. And you can also give our office a call if you want a consult at 302-429-5870, extension 120. Again, Dr. Ware, I want to thank you so much for coming on TOVA Tuesday. Do you have any quick last minute comments before we close out?
Real quick, the overall spectrum of health for me, I said before, it lies in different areas, but mental health is huge. Make sure that you guys are learning how to de-stress yourself. Start there. None of this stuff should be stressful for you, but learn how to de-stress 5 minutes a day. Learn how to use what they call box breathing as well, and do it while you're at work. Basically, you just learn how to breathe, connect with your breath as well, relax in everything you do. And if you have an issue, go talk to someone, focus on what you can control. And that's right now your diet, your sleep, your emotional health. And lastly, have fun with it. Make sure that you're getting out, you're laughing at least once or twice a day. I mean, a really good belly laugh, as well. So get to bed early, no electronics in your bedroom. I always tell people this. I said the bedroom is for two things, for sleep, and the other thing is also the essence was for sex as well. So that's what the bedroom is for. It's not for electronics. So I don't even have electronics in my bedroom at all. So just make sure you guys are sleeping well, you're eating well, and you're just having good mental health. And from there, you'll see your health is going to flourish, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ware. It's been a pleasure having you, and I'm so excited for the work that you do, and looking forward to collaborating and partnering with your company. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you soon on another episode of TOVA Tuesday.
Bye, guys.